hear you.
Let's see.
Did you guys hear him clearly? I know
Clearly.
you all seemed like you were straining.
She's
Okay.
too far from
Hold on just a second. I'm gonna do one more thing. It's gonna
Okay.
it's gonna be a little bumpy ride here. I'm gonna be turning this phone around a lot, but hang tight.
Getting busy.
Hey, that looks partners on Trickster.
Is this one of those TikTok videos?
And that's our next program.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that would be funny if we had the senior center on TikTok.
No.
Yes, no.
I bet
Can
we
you
could
all
get
hear me?
somebody to do it.
Can y'all hear me better now or no?
Yeah.
I
Yes.
can hear you fine. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I had a protective case to keep my children from destroying my phone, so that's why.
Oh, you,
I have a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, and they're between. I think my very first phone got destroyed by my first baby's drool. So I learned my lesson.
rule.
Yeah, it's a drool damage. It's unfortunately not covered by the insurance policy. So.
Brethren, 4 and 5 grow up to be teenagers. Then it's going to start.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
Well, Chris, thank you for joining us. It is Fall Prevention Awareness Week for those of you who may not be aware of that. So Chris has done some programs for us at the Senior Center, and we are very appreciative that you are willing to chime in on this new format for us as well, since we couldn't be in person. And if you want, I'm going to spotlight you so everybody can see you while you're talking, and I'm going to let you kind of, whoop, wait a minute. I'm trying to change your name. I didn't know I could do that. Sorry. Wrong button. And then if you want to just tell them a little bit about yourself, that'll be great.
Okay, so yeah, my name's Chris. I am Chris Garcia. I'm a physical therapist. I graduated from Western Carolina University in 2016. So I've been working now 4 years. I worked with individuals as young as 4 weeks old, all the way to older adults up there. So I work both in the outpatient setting, in the clinic setting, and I also work in the hospital right now. I work at Quest for Life, and I have worked with different programs, and a big thing that I love to do though is I like to help people work on their balance, especially fall prevention. But I work with the whole gamut, the whole range. I work with individuals with orthopedic injuries and things like that, to joint replacements, to balance disorders, to stroke, individuals who've had a stroke, and then little babies too, and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, but yeah, that's a little bit about me. And I guess from there, I just wanted to, I think in talking to Ingrid, we talked about trying to figure out ways on how to recover from a fall. My hope, though, too, is that you never have to experience a fall, or if you have experienced a fall, that it was not too injurious or anything like that. But my goal here is to help you figure out how to recover from a fall, and 2, how to prevent them. So I'm going to go ahead and go straight to the fun stuff and how to recover from a fall. And I just realized that I need a chair, so I'm going to grab one, and it'll take me, you can count 10 seconds. And if I'm not back in 10 seconds, then something's wrong. So hold on just a second.
Is anybody counting?
Should we be? Oh, no.
All right, that must have been, that's probably 6 seconds, I think. But anyway, I don't know if anyone was counting. But all right, so big things with the fall, and I like to sit like on my butt, so I'm gonna stop kneeling right now because my knees are bothering me. Speaking of injuries and all that. But so if a fall is to happen, one of the biggest things you need to do is, first of all, kind of do a self-check, a self-assessment. Okay, so one easy thing to do is just see what joints you can move and just kind of slowly assess the situation and do not panic, right? Panic kind of leads us to do all the ridiculous stuff, and that's where things get worse. So after you fall, best thing is just trying to move your hands, move your joints, and things like that. Figure out what you got working for you, okay? If you have severe pain where you're unable to move a joint or something like that, you probably want to limit movement at that joint or movement in that part of the limb. However, at the same time, if you're by yourself, it's kind of like, well, you got to get help too. So you got to keep that in mind. So with that in mind, you fall down, you do a self-assessment, and you realize who your allies are and who your allies aren't as far as things that are injured. Another thing too, if you can, holler out for help, right? It's always good to holler out for help. If you have someone close by, that's easy, right? But it doesn't hurt to holler for help in two cases. If help doesn't immediately come, doesn't mean that someone it doesn't mean that someone may have heard you from a distance and may come on over and check on you, okay? So that's another thing to do is make sure you holler out for help. See if someone can help you because it'll make your recovery a lot easier. However, if no help comes and you're still on the ground, you need to figure out a way to get up, okay? This is where you go from, okay, I just fell and I'm not feeling so hot. Now you go into G.I. Joe or G.I. Jane mode, okay? It's survival mode. And you got to figure out, how am I going to get up? All right, so another big thing is to look around at your surroundings. Look at what you have around you that can help you to get up or help you reach out to someone or help you mobilize in some shape, form, or fashion, okay? It's always good. One thing is now fortunately, we live in the cell phone age. So while I'm not a huge fan of, in some ways I'm a fan of technology, in other ways I'm not. Right now, this is where cell phones are huge right now. If you have your cell phone on you, it's really easy to get a hold of someone in order to get the help that you need, right? Another thing, though, if you don't have a cell phone, it's good to be mindful of where you keep your phone or to have a place where you have your phone at a regular basis. That way, you know to reach for it. So knowing how you're going to get a hold of someone is a big factor. Or two, being aware of your surroundings and knowing what tools you have around you to get up. I have a few things in here that I'm going to use to help me, but I'm going to show you guys first kind of the textbook method of getting up from a fall. This is typically what we go with in helping people who are otherwise have decent strength and are able to get up. This is the method that we typically show. And this is what they show us in PT school. So let me get this here. All right. So falling on the ground, you have to bear with me. I have limited space in this little office. But so you're falling on the ground. You've inspected everything. You try to move your legs, try to move your hands. Everything feels like you might be a little sore, but you're mobile enough. And also, please holler if you can't hear me. I'm trying to make sure I project as best as I can. So you're here on the ground. So the next thing is to try to figure out, okay, how can I get up from here? Or what can I do from here? Does anyone have ideas of what I should do next? You guys can chime in at any point.
Try to get up on your knees and your elbows.
Okay, good. Yeah, so I'm going to try to come up here, bring my legs underneath me, okay? Then now we're going back to our baby days. We're going on all fours, okay? So now as I'm in this position, who can tell me what I should do next?
Grab the chair.
grab the chair. Okay. So yeah, so I want to get myself into a better position here, where I'm in what we call kind of a high kneeling or tall kneeling position. Okay. I'm sorry.
What did you call that?
It's a high kneeling or tall kneeling position.
Okay, got it.
So you're gonna bring your feet closer there. Okay, so just like that, and then from there, if you have the strength, you can push up from the chair, push up from the armrest, or anything like that. Put weight, get one leg up, other leg up, and then you can sit down. At least you're somewhat upright there, okay? And then from there, if you wanted to, you could stand up all the way and get up, recover, and grab a. And what you probably want to do, if you're not feeling so hot, you're feeling sore, it's probably good to err on the side of contacting someone, let them know what happened, and then maybe getting assessed. If you feel like you can still move, but you're just feeling sore, you might want to check for any damage. Might just go to urgent care. If you feel like you're so sore that you can't move a limb or anything like that, might not be a bad idea to call for EMS or someone to help you get to the hospital so you can get any potential bone breaks or anything addressed. Okay, so that was the textbook way to get up. But not everywhere that we fall is going to have those really nice convenient chair set up or anything like that, or we're not going to have everything that we need around us. All right, so another thing that we can think of here. First of all, has anyone experienced the fall? Anyone on this video experienced the fall?
Not recently.
Those words, not recently. Define recently.
Years.
Years. Okay. Because sometimes I talk with folks and they said, I've talked with individuals, and that's another thing is if our typical fall risk assessment is usually if you've had a fall in the past 6 months, it's a fall risk. I've had folks tell me, oh, I've only had a few falls in the past week or a few falls in the past month. And that to me as a physical therapist is a big red flag. It's like, oh goodness, like falls are not supposed to be a regular occurrence. So, so good. I'm glad it's not been that recent. Okay. So what's another scenario that you guys would like me to play out? Or does anyone have something that they're concerned about, say weak knees or a weak or bothersome hips or shoulders or anything like that that you're concerned about that you want to find an adaptation for?
I think, Chris, this is Ingrid. I think the biggest thing in the class that I taught were the weak knees. People feeling like maybe they couldn't, if they got down, they wouldn't have the strength and arm strength to pull themselves up. So maybe an adaptation with the knees.
Adaptation with the knees. Okay. Alrighty. So, all right. Let me get creative here. Okay. So, one other thing, if the knees are not feeling so strong, is depending a little bit more on the arms, or depending a little bit more on basically anything that you can use to help you out. The biggest thing is to put yourself at what we call a mechanical advantage. Okay, so what that means is just making sure that you can make it. The easiest way to put it is make it as easy as possible for yourself to get up. So if you have weak knees, or one thing I've come across is people are like, man, I've got arthritis, or I've got this or that, and there's no way I can get myself up that way. I still think the chair method is probably your best bet, but you might want to adapt that a little bit. So one thing that you can think of, or that you can try, is making yourself a set of stairs. So you may, in a certain way, and this is where creativity comes in. That's going to be another thing is, again, when you fall, you're in G.I. Jane and G.I. Joe mode. Anything goes to help get you upright, okay? So with that in mind, I have one thing that you can grab. Maybe you have some books, right? Some books laying around. or by a bookshelf or something along those lines. Maybe you have, maybe the cushions from your couch can be removed, okay, and then you can stack those up. But what I mean by making a set of stairs is, let's see, and I don't have quite enough things here, but we'll make it work. So, because yeah, a big thing is when your legs are a little bit of a mechanical, or a little bit of a disadvantage, or you have less strength there. One thing you may want to do to give yourself a little bit more advantage, or to get up, let's see. Maybe your knees can't do the work, but maybe instead of going forwards, you can go backwards, okay? So one potential option is trying to lift yourself that way. So either kind of getting yourself close to here, or pushing down into the ground and seeing if you can push through your heels and lift your hips up. Push that way, and you can try to climb up, either using a cushion or something along those lines to help get yourself up that way, okay? And then, if I wanted to too, I don't necessarily have to use my knees. If my knees aren't feeling really good, maybe you can push through your elbows, or maybe you can push through your hands. You don't necessarily have to go in the forward direction, but you can maybe go in the backward direction, or even sideways, and kind of go here, lean against the chair or something along those lines, and pull yourself into the chair. So maybe something like this, pull yourself that way if you can't use your knees very well. That whole time I basically didn't use my legs at all. But so, you know, if the front or forward approach doesn't work really good, you can try the sideways, trying to use your elbows and your shoulders to kind of, in the big, what we call your scapular muscles, to help you out and push you up, because those are the muscles that you tend to use to get up out of a chair and things like that. So you can go sideways or backwards. Trying to think too, but say you're in a bind, you're in a really bad bind, and say you just really messed up, your legs, and you may even be afraid that you broke something. What would you do then? Any thoughts, any ideas? Feel like a school teacher here.
Can you use the wall?
Yeah, so that's a great idea. Yeah, so you can, if you can find a corner of a wall, that's one thing that you can do to get up. So let me move my chair out of the way. So yeah, you're basically just using kind of counter forces, right? So from here, I can lean up against the wall, or I can even, again, get my things to stack up against the wall from here, and then I can push, try to find some way to push against the wall, either going in this direction, push myself up this way, or wedge myself against the wall and pray that your mat doesn't move out of the way, right? You can push yourself against the wall that way to get up. That's one way. But if your legs are completely out of the game, then or you feel like you can't get up on your legs, the best thing you can do is try to find a way to communicate to someone else, right? So this is where that G.I. Jane and G.I. Joe comes in, right? You may, say you've fallen, but your phone might be up on the counter or something along those lines. This is where you have to use your tools and your resources, okay? One thing you can do is you could crawl. You could army crawl, and say maybe you have your cane laying around. You have a cane, or you have a broomstick, trying to think, a duster. You have anything that can be used as an extension of your arm. Then you can use it as a tool to help get it off of the countertop, to help get your phone off the countertop, to help knock it off of the wall unit, or help knock it off of whatever you need to use. Or if it's sitting on like a side table or something like that, you can shake the side table, you can knock it over, don't worry. Your life is more important than that antique. But just trying to do those kind of things in order to get communication. So if you feel like you cannot use your legs, or something is broken, that might be your best bet, is trying to find communication. Another thing that might be a good and valuable resource is, again, trying to find an extension of your arms. But say you can't get to your phone, or for whatever reason your phone's dead or something like that. Another thing you can try to help get help is using this to activate a light switch. Okay, preferably a light switch that goes outside, or something that's seen from the inside, and see if you can use it to flip on and flip off, flip on and flip off, back and forth. That way it gets someone's attention. That's another thing that you can do as far as that goes. Any questions or concerns on that?
Hey, Chris, this is April.
Yeah.
One of the other things that people might want to consider, especially these days, is since almost everyone has, or lots of people have smartphones.
Right. Yeah.
You can actually, even if your phone is not there, you can, and I'm not saying those magic words because my iPhone is laying right here and it'll start talking, but you can actually use your iPhone or your smartphone or your Alexa, those kind of things to call for help too. And I think those have been really helpful for a lot of people. I've actually talked to people who have the Alexa that have used those to call for help.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's a great point. You can say, "Hey Alexa" or "Hey Siri," and stuff like that. And I said that on purpose to see if I could get your phone to talk. No, but yeah. So yeah, you can use that as a way of getting a hold of folks too. So kind of maybe investing that time to do that. Another thing that there are certain apps for older adults that for fall risk and things like that. That can actually track you, and some of them even detect like a rapid fall or a rapid descent or something along those lines. That way, it kind of, and then after that, it'll send like a warning to a loved one or something like that. After a certain amount of time, if it's not corrected by you or not, or if it's not confirmed or basically what do you call it, disarmed by you. So that's another thing to consider as well. So yeah, that's one, again, one awesome advantage with this new technology age, which is huge. Any other questions or concerns on falls and how to recover from a fall from anyone?
Well, isn't it important if you have fallen to try not to get up too quickly, because if you've been laying prone or supine, then you're going to have blood loss as you rise up from your brain and get dizzier.
Right. So you're talking about your blood pressure, right? Your blood pressure adaptation. So I'm going to say with that, when you're recovering from a fall, you definitely, like you said, you want to take time to assess yourself, right? See where you're at, and assess what's going on, and try to get an understanding of what might have happened to cause the fall, in the sense of, okay, did I black out, right? Because you said getting up too fast, right? You can get that orthostatic hypotension, that's what we call it, or where you're basically, your blood pressure drops, and then there's not enough blood flow going to the brain and things like that. However, I would probably err on the side of if you have fallen and you are conscious and your blood is pumping. Now, if your blood sugar and things like that went down or something like that, and it was pretty bad, that's one side of it. And you feel overly weak, you're probably not going to be able to move much anyway. That's why it's also important to keep an eye on those things. However, in most cases, what's one thing that helps to elevate your blood pressure? Can anyone tell me? That's a positive thing that you can do that will help elevate your blood pressure.
Well, that wasn't my point. My point was that if you're laying flat and then you try to stand up too quickly, you may become a little lightheaded.
Right. Yeah. No. I get what you're saying.
So
yes.
Getting
Sorry,
up.
go ahead.
Don't right up after you've fallen, because you may fall again.
Right. So, and I think that's a good point. You don't want to spring right up. That's a good point. Yes, I agree. Now, I guess the way I was thinking about it is, if you have fallen, at the same time though, I still think it's a good idea to try to get back up, And
Yeah.
but you want to get your blood pumping before you do that. And what I mean, and one good way to help normalize your blood pressure is exercise. So when you're trying to get up out of it, off the ground, your body is working overtime. That heart is working to get the blood pumping to your brain and get you working that way. So the chances of that, happening, unless you go and you spring up real fast, the chances of that happening are going to be a little bit lowered because your heart is already pumping really good and you're already moving. A lot of times what happens is your body's taking some time to adapt. So yeah, but I think typically when you recover from a fall, you don't necessarily get up fast enough to cause that because your body's kind of slower. You're still kind of moving kind of slowly. But that is a good point. You don't want to get up too fast. Otherwise, yeah, you're right. You might just end up right back on the ground. And you want to do it as safely as possible, as best you can. But at the same time, in the end, if you're on the ground and you don't want to stay on the ground. And I guess the reason why I bring that up is, I've had my grandmother actually. That's how she passed away. She was on the ground, and I think her leg got trapped underneath her, and she couldn't get up, and there's no one to help her. So the biggest thing is, that's why I think this education is so important too, is helping people to know all the tools that they have available to get up. But no, that's a good point. You don't want to get up too fast, just like when you rise out of a chair too fast or anything like that, and you start to feel lightheaded, which actually brings me to my next point. And I'm glad you brought that up. And what's your name, sir?
Herb.
Herb?
Yeah.
You bring a great point. So one thing that has struck me as being a common reason why people fall is because one of the big things is they say, I woke up in the middle of the night and I had to run to the restroom, right? They said that I have to run to the restroom, and then, but because of their urgency to feeling that they had to go, they, just like you said, they get up too fast. And the next thing you know, this is what I hear. I said, I got up in the middle of the night, I went to stand up, and that's all. And then all I remember is being on the ground because they did just that. They blacked out because of their blood pressure. So that's a good point. Other common things that I've heard happen is falls in the bathroom, falls in the tub, or in that kind of area. And the best thing I can recommend for you all is making sure that the bottom of your tub has some kind of grip pad to it. Making sure you have grab bars if you feel that way to help make you more secure, and trying to make sure you have as many anti-slip surfaces as you can to keep you from falling. But those are probably the two most common things I hear as far as people being at a high fall risk or people having a fall. It's usually getting up in the middle of the night and in a slick surface. And then the third one is folks trying to get up if they use a walker or a cane. And typically what happens is they decide, well, I can make this short distance, I can do this without my cane, or I can do that without my cane or without my walker, and sure enough, that's how they fall. So I think it's important too, to use the tools that you have available to you. Use the tools and the resources that you have available to you. And I know when nature calls, but at the same time, you want to make sure that you're not on the ground either. Any other questions, concerns, comments?
Well, when you want to climb up something, if you're using a ladder, you want to try to maintain 3 points of contact all the time, and probably standing on chairs to reach things is not a good idea.
No, you definitely don't want to stand on a chair, but you probably want to pull up on a chair. You can pull up on a chair, and ideally a steady chair.
I meant using a chair to reach a top shelf or something.
Okay,
Trying to prevent falls rather than recover from them.
Okay, yeah, no, that's a good point too. I would say, yeah, I would say, um, that's a good point. Make sure you have a place where if you are going to go on a step stool, make sure you have something else, maybe for your hands or something to rest on to help you keep your balance. Is that what you're saying, Herb?
Yeah, well, I'm saying, yeah, it's like on a sailboat, or you have 3 points of contact.
Right.
So try to prevent falls by watching where you're walking and being careful with stepping up on things and so on.
Right.
Try to prevent the fall rather than worry about recovering from it.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think that's a great point too. You want to make sure that you're doing everything that you can. One other thing that you kind of brought to mind too is what's one simple thing in the middle of the night that you can do to help prevent falls we've already talked about watching how quickly you get up. We've already talked about using an assistive device. What's another thing that you can do specifically at nighttime that can help you prevent falls?
Turn on a light.
There you go. Awesome. Yes. Yep. Very, very good. Yeah. So there are 3 primary things that we use to maintain our balance. We have our vision. We have what we call our proprioception, which is just a fancy word for saying knowing where our limbs are in space. And then we also have our vestibular system, which tells us where our head is in space. For quite a few folks right now too, neuropathy or impaired sensation in the feet, or peripheral neuropathy, impaired sensation in our limbs tends to play a part. So if we can be more aware of our surroundings and we can depend on vision to help us get around, then it can help us tremendously. So I think was that Mary who chimed in on that one? No, she's got quiet. Okay. Anyway, any other questions, comments, concerns?
Who do you call for help if your door is locked and you don't want your door broke down?
Well, I think from that, go ahead, Herb.
Crawl to the door and unlock it. Get up and go on.
I was to say, I think it's a matter of priorities too. At that point, I think I'll take someone breaking in my door rather than stand on the floor the rest of the day. Yeah.
No, I have a friend that has a key, and I would call them before I'd call paramedics or anybody.
Yeah, well, another thing to think about too, talking about fall prevention, is fall preparedness, right? So, having a game plan in place. If you do have a fall, who am I going to call? Like that way, there's less thinking involved, especially when you're in a stressful moment. You already have a plan. You already know this is your go-to person. This is who you're going to call. This is how I'm going to get a hold of that person. This is how I'm going to get up. It's also having that preparedness is a big factor. Yeah, that's good. Now, I also know Ingrid had talked about trying to have some exercises that you guys can do in order to help build up your strength or to help prevent falls. So with that in mind, I'm gonna have this. I want to put this in there too. So I highly recommend, if there are any exercises that you feel uncomfortable with, that you don't do them at this point, unless you get some help from a physical therapist or some kind of exercise specialist, or or you worked with someone who can who's doing a program through the senior center or something like that to work on that. The reason why I say that is I don't want you guys in the attempts of doing these exercises, I don't want you to get into the point of I don't want you losing your balance or falling when you do that. I will focus on some strengthening exercises for you guys as far as balance, specific exercises. The one thing with balance exercises is the way to improve it is to challenge it. So you want to make sure that you're in a safe environment where you can catch yourself if you need to. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to show you guys some things that you can do just to help build up your strength. So let me clean up my mess here. Okay, so one exercise that you guys can do, and this is a good strengthening exercise. It's also really basic and easy to do in your home, in the sense of you're gonna have all the supplies that you need right there. If you have a chair, a sturdy chair, great. If you have a chair with armrest, even better. And another thing that's really important when you do this exercise is make sure that this chair is against the wall. Okay, if it's against the wall, it's not going to slide back on you or move away from you. If you also feel like you either make sure it's against the wall or make sure someone is there to kind of support it, or just make sure it's a good, steady, heavy chair. Okay. If you need something in front of you, you may have a countertop in front of you, a walker in front of you, or something available in front of you. Should you feel like you're losing your balance in the forward direction, you can kind of correct it. Okay. So it's just a sit to stand. It's real simple. You do exactly what it says. You start out sitting and you stand up. Okay. Ways that you can do this exercise. You can start out if you feel like your legs are a little weaker or may not feel real strong or real confident in doing that. You can always use your armrest to help push you up. So you're gonna go ahead, all you do, push yourself up with your arms and use your legs to the best that you can. The emphasis for this exercise though is in strengthening your legs. Okay. One thing that I've heard of folks having a hard time with is when they try to stand up, they have this tendency to either they feel like they can't get up off the chair because their legs are too weak, or another thing that they do is they come up and then they fall backwards. Okay, and what you want, the reason why folks tend to fall backwards is because they don't get their nose over their toes. Okay, it's a nice rhyme that goes with it. By getting your nose over your toes to stand up, pushing through your arms as you need it, and coming up. Okay, if you don't feel safe doing that, then you don't necessarily want to do that at home, or make sure that you have someone who's working with you. Okay, that's one basic exercise, and to keep that strength where it is, I would do 10 repetitions, and then if you get to the point where you can do 20 repetitions with no problem and no pain or anything like that, then you can get to the point where you try not using your hands at all, or maybe putting your hands on your knees to help progress that, and then you can get real fancy and put your arms across your chest. Okay, but again, only if you feel safe doing that. Okay, so again, remember that's my throughout all this is you want to make sure you're safe doing it. If you have any bit of uncertainty, it's probably a good idea to check with your doctor or a physical therapist or someone who can help assess you on that. Okay, so that's one exercise you can do. That's probably one of the best ones to help build up your strength. Yeah, another one. I'm sorry.
Chris?
Yes.
Yeah. I've lost the video here. So that exercise, you were putting a chair with its back to the wall, and then you sit in the chair and you push yourself up with your arms, this position.
Yeah, so you're basically going from the sitting position to the standing position. So, but yeah, you're having the chair against the wall so it doesn't slide back.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I can't see your video. It's shut off. So.
Okay. Is anyone else having that same problem?
No, the rest of us can see. Irv has that problem with his computer from time to time.
Oh, I don't know. It's off, and I didn't do anything. Just shut off. So I don't know. All right, never mind.
No, you're fine, Herb. I want to try to help you out there. But yeah, what you described is exactly right. And you just want to go from using your hands to help to putting your hands on your knees to help to not using your hands at all. But again, doing what you feel safe doing. Okay?
Yep.
All right. So I'm going to, let's see, I think, okay, good. You guys see me over here? Okay, so another exercise that you can do for strengthening is you can stand. I recommend that you do this. Again, if you have good balance, good standing balance, I recommend that you do this at the kitchen sink. Reason why is you can grab a hold right inside the sink and hold onto the countertop, so you got yourself a nice sturdy thing to hold on to should you need it to keep your balance. Okay. These exercises, I'm sure some of you have seen before. Some of these exercises are heel and toe raises, so going up onto your toes, standing up with support on the sink there, and going back onto your heels, okay? And try to lift your toes up. What that does is it helps to strengthen the muscles in your ankles. If it strengthens the muscles in your ankles, your ankles are really important in helping you to keep your balance, because because that's your feet are kind of the first point of contact with the ground, right? So if we can deal with different alterations in the ground, or we can make sure that our what we call our dorsiflexors, the muscles that help bring our toe up and keep our foot from scuffing the ground, it's really important to keep those muscles strong. Okay, and it also helps us to walk better as well when we work on those ankle muscles. Those ankle muscles work a lot to help us keep our balance and for us to help us walk better. Another exercise that you can do is what we call standing hip abduction and then standing hip extension. Okay, so hip abduction is just simply the direction that you're moving is you just bring your leg out to the side, just like this. So you're standing with your, and Herb, I'm going to try to describe the best I can for you. You're standing up tall and straight with a good up straight posture. Your feet are right next to each other, and your leg is going straight out to the side with your knee straight. So you kind of look like you're doing a jumping jack, except only one leg is moving out to the side while the other leg is stationary and planted to the ground. That's going to help build up those muscles in your hips, which are also very important for helping you keep your balance. So you have the hip abduction going to the side and trying to keep your body upright. And now what's important too with this is you just want to get to the point where you feel it in your hip. If you start to feel like you're leaning too much or looking like a windmill or something along those lines, then you're going too far. You just want to move at the hip. Okay? Again, though, with all these exercises, make sure you feel comfortable and safe doing them. Another one that you can do is bringing your legs straight back. So same idea, keeping the legs straight. One leg is stationary, planted to the ground. The other leg is going straight back. And again, you want the motion just to be felt at the hip. If you feel it in the back, or you feel like your back's arching, or you feel like your body is leaning too much, you're going too far with that, okay? So those are some basic, sorry, go ahead, Herb. Okay. So yeah, so there's that as well. So those are some good exercises just to help build up that strength and maintain that strength while you're there. Okay, and those are probably some of the easiest ones without working with you and kind of giving you the cues that you need. There's probably the best ones I can show you guys for strengthening. Now balance is another thing. Okay, again, you want to make sure you're in a safe environment. You want to make sure that you have something that you can hold on to nearby, and you want to make sure you feel comfortable doing this. These exercises are probably more so for balance maintenance rather than balance improvement. Maybe a little bit of improvement is through this, but again, typically with the exercises that we do, a lot of what we do is to challenge your balance. That's how it gets better. But because you don't have someone to help keep you safe there, because I haven't taken good assessment on you, I want you guys to, again, make sure you feel safe with these exercises, okay? So one thing I can do, I can either get myself in a corner of a room, right? Put myself in a corner, that way I have walls to hold on to, and then I can even have a chair in front of me. That way I have multiple areas where I can put my hands to help me regain my balance, okay? But for the sake of this video, for the sake of you guys seeing what I'm doing, I'm going to put myself away from that and just so you can see my feet, what they're doing. So the first thing you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to, one thing that you can try is staying with what we call a narrow base of support. So again, you can just have your feet touching each other, close to each other, standing there. Now, if you're doing this and you're challenged, great. If you're not, then we want to try something a little different, okay? So if this is easy, then you're ready to move on to the next exercise. Another exercise that you can do is what we call semi-tandem stance. So semi-tandem stance involves having one foot about halfway meeting the other. So basically, my toe, I'm gonna see if I can get you guys to see a little closer here, right there. So basically, you have my whole foot there, and then the toe of the other foot is gonna be even with the arch of the foot that was planted there. So basically, you're kind of standing. If these are my feet looking from the top, you're gonna be kind of standing half and half there, okay, or half and half this way, okay. So my feet are going to be either this direction or switch the other way. That is going to give us a more narrow base support. So it's going to challenge us more to use our ankle and our hip muscles. It's going to help us, and it's going to challenge us just to stay stationary in that position. And the last one, for those kind of exercises, is what we call standing heel to toe, right? You think about I pray no one's been pulled over in this manner, but we do joke around about this in the clinic a lot, is you think about the sobriety test, right? They have to walk heel to toe. Going that way. My goal is not to have you walk heel to toe, but my goal is more so just to have you stand stationary, heel to toe, maintaining your balance like that. Okay? And that again is gonna challenge your balance and cause you to have to kind of correct your balance. Again, it's very important that you make sure that you have a safe environment, that you're in a safe environment to do this. Making sure that you either have a corner of a wall, making sure you have a chair nearby, or making sure you have a countertop nearby to help keep you safe, okay? With these exercises, so the strengthening exercises where you're standing up and sitting down, or the ones where you bring your leg out to the side, or bring your leg straight back, or going up onto your toes and back on your heels. Typically a safe exercise dosage is about 10 reps, okay? So doing 10 reps for the strengthening exercises is good. If you feel like they're getting easier, then start doing more. And then start doing more reps and adding on to that, okay? For the balance exercises, your way you're measuring those is gonna be more of time. So typically with the patients that I work with, I usually have folks try to maintain that position for about 30 seconds. Now, in that time, you may have losses of balance. That's okay, but just try to do your best to keep in that position the best you can. And if you need to tap onto something or hold on to something, then that's okay. If you need to tap onto something or hold on to something for a second, that's okay. And then you gradually wean yourself from using that. Okay. So there's that. So again, 10 reps typically for the strengthening exercises in about 30 seconds. And I'll do that 2 to 3 times for each exercise. Does that make sense to everyone, or any questions on any of that? I know I went through a lot there.
That's great.
Any other questions or concerns or comments? Or any questions in general?
It's a quiet group all of a sudden.
Yeah, I know. I hope I didn't put you guys to sleep.
No, it was fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, it was excellent. We really appreciate you doing this.
Okay. Well, it was my pleasure. I had fun with it. But yeah, if anything comes up or any other opportunities, I'd be happy to. Just as long as I get a good enough notice, I'll be happy to help out.
Thank you, Chris. We appreciate it. Have a good day.
You all too.
Yes.
Thank you for being patient with me
Thank
too.
you.
No
No
problem.
problem.
But
Bye-bye
then,
now.
I'm re-signing back in
Oh,
the phone.
too late.
Herb's coming back.
Herb, did you get? Were you able to get some of those exercises?
Yeah, I couldn't see him, but I don't know. I guess my system shuts off on the phone, but now I see you. You're back.
Oh yeah.
I can send the recording, Irv, so that you can see the parts that you missed. I can send you the link to the recording, and then you
Oh.
can check out the exercises that you might have missed.
Well, that's okay. We have a bunch of, with the American Legion, they put together some exercises for older people to do to try to keep fit that aren't too strenuous. You know, things like pushing off the wall and toe stands and you know, moving your parts to.
All right. Well, awesome. Well, you guys take care. It was a pleasure working with you all and visiting with you all. And stay safe and stay healthy. Okay.
Thank
We appreciate
you.
it. Bye.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye.